Good morning. Thank you so much for coming. I know it's early and busy for everybody. I can't believe we're already talking about senior year for your babies, but I'm Miss Fernley. I was your student's 10th grade counselor, and I got to move up with them to 11th grade. But I'm now passing them on to the most capable hands in the school. We have Miss Dixon, who is the 12th grade counselor, and then you have Miss Chisholm, who is our college and career counselor.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to go on and get started. We know that some of you will have to slip out and go to work, and we understand that. This is being recorded, and I will post it on my webpage, which we'll talk about in just a minute where that was, and you do have a copy of the PowerPoint that we're going over. Just to let you know, like I said, I'm Ms. Chisholm. I'm the college and career counselor. Ms. Dixon and I have very different roles. We'll explain that to you in just a minute so you have an understanding of that. But we have been here since the first graduating class in 2008. I don't know what that says about us. We love what we do. And she doesn't know I'm going to say this, but I actually added up this morning, and between the two of us, we have well over 40 years of experience. We started when we were about 10. That's when we started.
Child prodigy.
Well, child prodigy, she said. So we're going to go on and jump right in, so just hang with us, okay? We're going to go on and start.
All right, as Ms. Chisholm said, our roles are very different. Good morning, I'm Ms. Dixon. I am the 12th grade counselor, and so my role is everything prior to graduation. Mrs. Chisholm's role is everything after graduation, so that's an easy way to remember. So I handle everything with your students' credits, their schedules, concerns about anything that they're going through in their classes, graduation qualifications, their grades, so ultimately anything before graduation. And we have a whole system that we do. Ms. Fernley we have this little ceremony where she passes over the juniors to me in the summer, and then they become officially mine. Mrs. Chisholm handles everything, recommendations, military, post-secondary, anything under the sun that's after graduation. So resources for college information, which we'll share with you today, recommendations and nominations, and so any questions and concerns after graduation.
Okay, in reference to conferences and meeting with us, we do encourage the seniors next year to come, and they will. We'll have a kickoff meeting with them in the fall, and they will get a blue folder that looks just like this. Inside of here's the senior handbook, how to apply for Hope Lottery, Tennessee Promise, the parent brag sheet, the senior brag sheet, how to order your graduation tickets, and much more. But this will come home in the fall after we meet with them at their kickoff meeting. And after that, the way to meet us is they simply sign our book on the counter and guidance, and we send for them within 24 school hours. And we want them to do that. Certainly before I can do a recommendation, I've got to have FaceTime with them, and we want them to come. If they've got questions about their schedule, we want them to come, and we encourage them to do that. The Senior Weekly Newsletter, as you see on the screen, will start August 25th. Ms. Dixon and I send out a newsletter every Monday that we're in school. So if we're in school on a Monday, there's a newsletter going out. That newsletter is going to be read out loud in your seniors English class. It's going to be emailed to them, and it's going to be emailed to you based on the email address that you have put in PowerSchool. So you really want to make sure that's accurate. It's a way for us to keep you in the loop of what's going on campus, what college reps are on campus, when the military's on campus, when the scholarship deadline's due, when prom tickets are going on sale, and so forth and so on. I'm going to keep you looped in on that. And like I said, that comes out every Monday starting August 25th. So be looking for that.
I just have to brag on Ms. Chisholm. That book that she produces, she reviews every summer, updates it. The newsletters are always just kind of holding your hand along the way. Share with your municipal friends. Ms. Chisholm's got a book and a newsletter every Monday that we're in session, so that's amazing for all of us, okay? Applying to college, this is the great big question we want to know about applying to college. So we will review this with your rising seniors in August, but we always want to make sure that you know ahead of time. So we strongly encourage you to choose 3 to 5 colleges minimum that you're thinking about for your student to apply to. Applications are always available on the website. At the very beginning of the year, I know we have people who are eager who want to go ahead and jump in and apply to college. You know, they're getting those college freshmen into those dorms, and then they start looking at the applications that our seniors are applying. okay? We also have Common App, which we cover with the seniors, and Ms. Chisholm's going to talk a little bit more about that. We strongly encourage the seniors to complete their application process by November 1, and that is mainly because depending upon what schools your student is applying to, that's when those deadlines are approaching, and especially with scholarships. So that kind of takes the pressure off of them if they hit the ground running in August, start applying for all the schools they want to do, and then like November 1, woo, I've done my applications, that's over. So as we said in the second column, complete applications between August and November, and then resources are always available in guidance for additional information about majors or specifics on certain colleges. We're going to talk more about transcripts, but students' GPAs are recalculated in September and in January. So after a semester ends, summer school takes place, and then in September, those GPAs are recalculated. Seniors receive their unofficial transcripts twice a year, and that is in September and in January.
There's 3 steps to apply, whether you're applying to a college, a community college, a university, a VOTEC school. There's 3 steps. You've got to fill out the application. You've got to send your transcript officially from the school. Ms. Buchanan, the registrar, takes care of all of those records, and you've got to send your ACT scores. And seniors often get confused because they'll think, well, I filled out the application online and I haven't heard anything. Unless you have sent your ACT scores and sent your transcript, they're not going to make a decision. So there's 3 steps to apply. And I want you to remember, next year is a journey, okay? It's not a decision, it's a journey. And we're going to take the journey. We're meeting with you today. We're going to meet with the seniors in the fall and give them the handbook and all the information, and we're going to start applying. But we don't want to get the cart before the horse. We're going to take it slow. We're going to let them also buckle in. For those of you that already have, those who have already graduated from Arlington, you know it's a journey, so let's take it with us. But there are 3 steps to apply. One thing I want to note at the bottom of that screen, we are a non-ranking high school, and you'll see sometime when you're filling out a college application, what is your student's rank? We are a non-ranking high school. About 60% of the high schools in the United States now are non-ranking. And that's actually a good thing because we know your rank often depends on the classes you can get into and how that master's schedule lined up. So colleges are doing much more of a holistic approach. They're looking at the entire student, what clubs and activities were they in, what challenging courses are they taking, what are they doing outside of school, and that's actually to their advantage. But if you see that in there, you would leave that blank because we are that. I wanted to point that out. When you get to some applications, you will be able to use that college's application. When you get to some college's website, it will give you the option of applying using the Common App. All schools do not accept Common App. Some do. It depends on the school. And there are advantages to filling out the Common App. There are also disadvantages. The Common App is exactly what it is. It is a common application. And the schools, the colleges that have agreed to accept that has a lot of pieces to it. There's teacher recommendations. I have to do a secondary report, a mid-year, and a final. There's lots of pieces to it. It kind of covers everything that those colleges require. But for your senior next year, they would only do that one Common App, and send it to those schools. Probably 90% of our students do a combination. They're applying to some schools that do not accept Common App, that require their own application, and they apply to some schools that do. I will give you an example, and one example is UT. UT will take either. They'll take Common App, or they'll take their own app. Which do you do? It depends on your situation. There's not a blanket answer. If your senior next year is applying to 3 or more Common App schools, do Common App. That's the application they need to use. That's what they need to do. If they're not, then they can use those college-specific applications. So it really depends on the school and their situation and where they're applying.
We talked about your student receiving an unofficial transcript twice a year in September and in January. Those transcripts have their cumulative GPA, their weighted and unweighted GPA, and their credits. And so we always want them to have that information on hand when they're applying. There's a process for sending official transcripts, and that's on our webpage. Scrib Order is the company we use to send transcripts. So as Ms. Chisholm mentioned, the official transcript is part of the admission process. So you go to Arlington High School webpage, scroll to the bottom, It says transcript request. You click there, they are a current student, and then you follow the process. And you can submit as many transcripts as you like. You can search for those schools and submit them for requests. The ACT scores must be sent directly from ACT.org. And so you'll have to take care of that process too. And so the cost for a transcript is $9. And then I think ACT scores at this point, I think are around $13, but that might change. Just definitely check ACT.org. Okay? And those unofficial transcripts that we give to our seniors in September and January, there's no cost for that.
The unofficial transcripts that they get, that Ms. Dixon mentioned, that's for your record and for their record. They can't send that to a college. College must have an official one sent directly from the high school by Ms. Buchanan. That unofficial is just for them to help them see where they are, is it accurate, are there any questions on there, what their GPA is when they're filling out their college applications. Okay, let's talk a second about letters of recommendation. Some schools require letters of recommendation, some don't. Doesn't mean they're better or worse, they just have different requirements. When we're entering into a world now where you want to do exactly what the college or university or community college or VOTEC school requires, we often think, and we all do, that more is better. Not in the world that we're entering. More is not following directions, and that could result in your application being kicked out. If it wants 2 letters of rec, we're going to do 2 letters of rec. If it wants one from a math teacher and an English teacher, that's exactly what we're going to do. And we're going to tell your seniors all this next year. Tips on letters of rec. I'm going to tell your senior next year, do not ask a teacher or me today that you need one tomorrow. You would not want what I would have time to write. That's not going to help them. At least 2 weeks in advance, they need to let them know. Any of the counselor recs are done by me. That's where I spend the majority of my time. September, October, November, nights and weekends, I'm writing rec letters. I will read over the brag sheet that you will turn into me, which will be in that blue folder in the file. I'll read over their resume, which is their first assignment in senior English next year. I will read over their brag sheet that they'll complete, and I'll spend some time with them, and then I'll start writing. Our teachers are very accustomed to writing letters of rec, but remember they're teaching all day also. So I tell your seniors, please be respectful in asking them. Letters of rec carry a lot of weight. So we want to give them the attention they need. We want to give our teachers time to do that. You don't ever know when you need to circle back around. We've still got seniors, current seniors now, that are applying for scholarships and need rec letters. So we definitely want to allow time for that and treat those as they need to be treated because they are a huge part of the application process. I get asked this every year, starting about 2 years ago. Ms. Dixon said, do I use AI when I'm writing letters of rec? Ms. Chisholm's old school, I don't even know where to find AI. I don't even know where that is. I start with a blank sheet, and I'm going to write about your senior next year and give it all the attention I can. I take them very seriously, like I said, as the teachers do. Oh, I didn't note this on here. We do not give open letters of rec at Arlington High School. What that means is the teachers nor I are going to write a rec letter and hand it to your senior. That doesn't carry near the weight as a closed letter of rec. We're going to send it directly where it needs to go. That carries a lot more weight and maintains the integrity of it. Has a lot more impact for your senior, which is what we want to do.
College visits. Mr. Davis, our principal, is gracious enough to offer our rising seniors 4 college visit days, and we want them to take advantage of this opportunity. There are procedures that must be followed in order for the days not to count against attendance. So if they do the proper procedure for college visit, it's put in the system as a field trip. Okay, so those procedures will be covered in the fall, but it must be pre-approved. When you set up for your visit, they will always give you a document stating that your student has come for the college visit, so they'll provide you proof, and so you'll submit that as well. But further information will be provided in the fall, and that's processed through the attendance office. We always tell the students you want to make the most of your college visits, mainly because, yes, they're going to put on a dog and pony show for you, show you the cafeteria, all the great eateries, football, all of that. They're going to show you all of that. But if your student has an idea about a particular major, you can ask, I'd like to speak to someone in this department. And a lot of times they'll pull out a college student to kind of talk one-on-one with your senior. And so we want them to have that experience. We always feel like a student knows where they're supposed to be once they walk on that campus. And sometimes they have to go through a few schools until they find that right one. But we want them to have the experience of being on campus.
In terms of college visits, in the handbook that you're going to get in the fall, there's a whole section in here about what to do on a college visit and what questions to ask. A lot of times you don't think about the questions to ask. As Ms. Dixon said, they're going to do their dog and pony show for you. But you as a parent want to know, what's the percentage of students that complete their education within 4 years? What's the teacher to student ratio? There's a whole list of questions in the handbook that you might want to pull out just to look over to give you more information. We're fixing to throw some terms at you. We're going to talk about money for just a little bit. Bear with us. I just want to kind of give you an overview of some of these terms. You'll hear a lot about them next year. In addition, next year we will host a financial aid night where I have Ms. Orr come from Nashville. She kind of walks you through the FAFSA and the financial aid piece of this. But I am going to just give you an overview of some of the terms now. When you see the term TSAC, that stands for Tennessee Student Assistance Corporation, and that's anything from the state of Tennessee. Those are Tennessee monies. And I've given you an example of what those are up there. When you see FAFSA, those are federal monies. FAFSA is an application. We'll talk about that on the next slide, but those are federal monies. You will receive, once you have, your senior has applied to a school, been admitted to the school, and listed it on their FAFSA application, you'll get what's called the FAR, which is a financial award letter. Those are just now starting to roll in for current seniors. So we're spring breakish. They're just starting to roll in, just so you know. And now, that's when you know the real numbers. You may know that your child qualifies for X scholarship or this scholarship or that, but when that award letter rolls in from the schools, that's when you sit down at the kitchen table and you've got some real numbers to take a look at. And like I said, they are just now starting to roll in for our current seniors. That's why we said, remember, this is a journey, not a decision in the fall. We're going to take this journey next year. Let me talk a little bit about FAFSA. FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. You will all complete this next year. It is to be done between October 1 and February 1. You cannot do it before that time. That's for the current seniors, and you don't want to do it after that deadline because the college has got to get that financial information from you. There is only one website to complete the FAFSA. Sadly, there are a lot of Bobo ones out there, so be very, very careful. I have parents tell me every year, Ms. Chisholm, we're not going to qualify for anything based on household income. I hear you. Here's the but. This is also the application for the Hope Lottery Scholarship, which is an in-state scholarship. A college cannot officially award your senior monies unless they have a FAFSA on file from you. So even though they said your child is eligible for the Dean Scholarship or the Provost Scholarship, they can't officially put that money in the account until they have this FAFSA. So this is something we will all be doing between October and February of next year. It will be on the newsletter. You'll be hearing about it. There's a whole section in the handbook. And like I said, Ms. Orr will be coming out and walking us through that and tips and common mistakes. So stay tuned for that. When we talk about scholarships, we've got financial aid. We talk about scholarships. I've given you some examples on the screen. There are certainly athletic scholarships, merit or academic. There's some private ones. And a lot of these you can stack. That's why we encourage students to apply for those outside scholarships, Coca-Cola, Tylenol. Our Arlington High School PTSA does one every year. They do a great one for us. And very few seniors apply for it, and that's a pretty given cash in your hand, helping you get set up for your first year in college, so you don't want to miss out on any of those. There are scholarship search engines on this PowerPoint. There are also some on my webpage. In addition, there are some in the newsletter. If you wonder how do you find some of those outside scholarships, within the blue folder that your senior's going to get next year, there's a scholarship source sheet, and it's loaded with scholarship opportunities in there. On the back of it are scholarship search engines. Just like Google is an information search engine, those are scholarship search engines. And please note, I don't put any on there unless a senior from Arlington has received money from there. So they've been vetted. Now don't get off of there. If you go too far down a rabbit hole, I can't account for that, but if you stay on those. So even though they may get money from the school itself for one of these criteria, they can also apply for those outside ones and stack those up.
Ms. Chisholm made reference to Tennessee scholarships. We're going to talk about two. The first is the Hope Lottery Scholarship. That is a 3.0 unweighted GPA. or a 21 ACT. So when your student looks at their unofficial transcript and they look at unweighted, that's where they're looking, the state is looking for Hope Lottery. And so that money is spread out over 4 years, okay? So qualifications are $2,250 per semester, and then it increases junior and senior year. The Hope Lottery folks determine over time that students, yes, were qualifying for Hope Lottery, but sometimes they weren't making it past freshman and sophomore year of college. So they give a smaller amount freshman and sophomore year, and then a larger amount your junior and senior year. Qualifications for additional $500 for GAMS, that's if you have a 29 or higher on the ACT or 3.78 unweighted GPA, okay? So Hope Lottery is only for schools in Tennessee. Then we have the Tennessee Promise. The Tennessee Promise Scholarship is for any student who's thinking about attending a 2-year college in the state of Tennessee, a trade school, VOTEC, like a TCAP, Bartlett, or Memphis, Moore Tech, Southwest, Dyersburg State, any of those. And so that scholarship has one application that is due November 1. And so the English teachers have those students do that in English class the first few weeks of school. That's like their second assignment. You've got to do the Tennessee Promise. And we want everyone in the class to do the Tennessee Promise, because as Ms. Chisholm said, on this journey, in fall you think you're going to Harvard, in spring you might end up at Dyersburg State. And so we want to make sure you have a scholarship in case that happens. We want you to have all the things that are open to you, okay? So we find them and make sure they do their Tennessee Promise by November 1. Then Tennessee Promise representatives come out. This time they came out in December. They gave an actual booklet to the students, walked them through this process. There's 8 hours of community service that are required by July 1. They have a great website that runs you through exactly what you have to do to submit those 8 hours of community service. They assign you a mentor. So your student, if they choose to go to a 2-year trade school, they have a mentor for those 2 years just to keep up with them and remind them of deadlines. Our current seniors, during FAFSA season, their text messages were beeping every day because they had applied for the Tennessee Promise and they sent those reminders, get your FAFSA done, get your FAFSA done. So sometimes we need those. So the Tennessee Promise is managed by the Tennessee Student Assistance Corporation. Again, that deadline is November 1. The application is available August 1 through November 1, so we want them to take advantage of that. And if you just want to take a look at it, you can go to TNPromise.gov.
The TN Promise actually kicks in the summer after they graduate. So for example, I had a senior in my office yesterday. She's going to a 4-year school in the fall, but she's going to go to Southwest this summer, take a few gen ed classes to kind of get her kick started in college, and she's going to use the Tennessee Promise, so it won't cost her anything. So that's something just to kind of keep in mind to get some of those out of the way. And Ms. Dix and I have both mentioned it. We want to know your seniors next year. When they sign our book, I send out passes first thing in the morning. I like to see them first thing in the morning, especially in the fall. I'm writing recs most of the day. Now we're kind of in graduation mode. We're getting ready for the big event with the class of 2025, but really encourage them to come, them to self-advocate. Boys are notorious for coming in with their cell phones, with text on it from mom. And they'll say, okay, Ms. Chisholm, mom wants to know. And that's great, that's great. Sometimes we'll get you on the phone and we'll all talk about it together. But let them come practice now, self-advocating and asking questions. Knowing that Ms. Buchanan is the registrar, and that's where I go for that. Knowing Ms. Dixon's role and how it's different than mine. We really want to encourage them to do that. Okay, we're going to shift gears just a little bit. We're going to talk about academic common market. If you have a senior next year who is just determined to go to an out-of-state school, and you can see the cost up there. For example, at UAB, out-of-state is $28,000 a year. If you're looking at University of Ole Miss, out-of-state is almost $27,000 a year. That's 1 year. But if your child is interested in a major that is not offered at a state school in the state of Tennessee where they reside, they can apply through the academic common market and pay in-state. And I've given you 2 examples up there. There are many more. An example is cancer biology. That is not offered anywhere in the state of Tennessee at a state school, so they can go to UAB and pay $11,000 a year. You see the other example at Ole Miss. You can simply go, you can Google academic common market, you will put in the state of Tennessee, and it will give you that list Now remember, that list is fluid, so what it says right now may not be what it says this summer, because a school in Tennessee, UT Chat or UT Martin, may decide to start offering that major, so you wouldn't qualify for that. But that's another opportunity to cut cost. Again, if your child's interested in one of those out-of-state schools, Alabama, any of those, Arkansas, and it literally cuts it from out-of-state to in-state. So academic common market is just another tip of the trade. We have talked about the GPA. Ms. Dixon made reference. GPA is only recalculated after semester. After each quarter and 9 weeks, that's for you to kind of keep up where your student is progressing. But the transcript is only done on semester, and semester grades are what go on there. And you can see the dates that we recalculate. We will do it in June after this semester. We'll do it in September after anyone who attends summer school, and it'll remain that same GPA until January. So that's how those are done. We already talked about we do the weighted and unweighted. We do have a Lottie system at graduation. I made earlier reference that we do not rank, but we are a Lottie school. And you can see the summa magna and cum laude recognition they get at graduation. They have actual medals. That's in the program for that weighted GPA is what that is. The valedictorian and salutatorian are selected out of the summa cum laude list. You can see that GPA there.
Our Arlington High School course catalog is a great reference. Ms. Berman, our vice principal, puts together another book that's published on our website. But the first 10 pages give you all the information about graduation requirements, explanation of the Lottie system, some other things that we're going to talk about. Those first 10 pages are great reference just to kind of keep up with all of those requirements and definitions of some things we're going to talk about with graduation recognitions. Senior exam exemptions are twice a year, December and May. So they have an opportunity to be exempted. They have a 90 or above, 5 or fewer excused absences. And so that's by teacher per class. And so that information comes out every year and the seniors get excited. And we want them to be excited to be exempt. And so just know that for seniors, it's twice a year. The ACT, we talked about the importance of the ACT. A lot of schools are still kind of in the middle as far as for admissions, if they're just going to look at the GPA or the GPA and the ACT. But we can tell you with certainty, most schools for scholarships are looking at those ACT scores. It is a graduation requirement, not a particular score, but it's a requirement that you have to take the ACT as part of your graduation requirements along with the 22 credits. Tennessee offers the ACT 2 times a year. So the juniors just took it this week in March, and then it's typically October that the seniors are offered another state ACT that's offered here at the school. And our EPSO coordinator, Ms. Payton, registers the students for those ACTs in state. There are offers when you take the ACT in September, April, and June. You can actually order those tests. So in addition to the fee that you pay for the ACT, you'll get to a screen in there where it says, do you want to order your particular test? They will send you the correct answers and your students' answers. And so we always encourage students to take advantage of that. If you kind of want to see, there's a section in math or English that you didn't quite do as well. Well, what happened? So where did I mess up? And what are the correct answers? If you check ACT.org right now, they have a deal going, which that never happens because they're for profit. But if you go ahead and register for the ACT by March 16th, you pay $99, and that covers 2 tests. So we did a double take when we saw that. So by March 16th, if you register, and so that's for April 15th, April 5th test, the June 14th or July 12th. So definitely, if you want your rising seniors to go ahead and have another opportunity before fall, I would say take advantage of that ACT opportunity.
Okay, let me talk to anyone in the room who has a senior next year who may be participating in athletics at the college level, be it a community college or a university. They must be registered with either NCAA or NAIA. Every college, every post-secondary school is either an NCAA or an NAIA school, and your senior next year needs to be registered with them by December of their senior year. And you can go, I'll give you the websites here. I'll go over this with your seniors next year. Remember, NCAA and NAIA do not take the GPA off the transcript. They recalculate it. And what they do is they'll look at a senior's transcript and they'll cherry pick off certain courses. English, math, science, social studies, foreign language, and they recalculate a GPA. And that's the NCAA GPA or the NAIA GPA. If you wonder which courses they pick out for Arlington High School, you can go to the websites I've given you there. You can put in Arlington High School, and the list will come up. These are the courses that NCAA and NAIA have approved. So something you can take a look at for yourself, but you definitely want to go in and get them registered. And that's something you can do now. There's several steps. You go in and register with NCAA for your senior. You have to get Ms. Buchanan to send, the registrar to send a transcript to them. But you don't want to miss out on that, because a college may make a verbal offer to your athlete next year, but they can't make an official offer until they've been registered with NCAA or NAIA.
The first exciting thing about Rising Seniors is the discussion about senior pictures for the yearbook. Holland Studios typically comes and speaks to the juniors late spring. This is their contact information up here on the screen. But we want you to make sure that your senior sits for their picture by Labor Day. Okay, and so when you call and set up your appointment, they'll talk to you about the picture with the drape or the tuxedo and the casual picture. You're in no way indebted to buy the complete package that they offer, but certainly they're going to tell you about their complete package. But for the yearbook, it's the tux or the drape and a casual pic that goes in the yearbook. I'm trying to save money. Okay, and so both of those are done at Holland Studios, so go ahead and Miss Ray and take care of that. There is a $50 sitting fee, and the cap and gown picture, that's included in the sitting. And so when Holland Studios will come up, that'll be on Canvas, and Miss Fernley will also publish that information. We talked about the course catalog, having the first 10 pages being a whole lot of detailed information, and that includes graduation recognitions and definitions of those. So with our AHS honors diplomas, our state honors, state distinction, AHS district distinction, all of those things are discussed. We discuss it with the seniors in the fall. Those definitions are in there. And so we talk with them about that, and that information relates to what is placed on the diploma and those recognitions that are discussed at graduation or put in the program.
I've given you a list of resources on the screen. I think I made reference to this earlier. College Pays TN is a great website. There's all sorts of information there about scholarships, career inventories, and so forth. But I've given you a list. Many of these are scholarship search engines, ACT websites you go to. But this is just a great resource to keep. Again, many of them are listed on my webpage, which I listed down there. College for TN is another one. Those are really good websites. All of these have been vetted. Our seniors use these a lot. These are very frequented pages.
Let's talk about what to do this summer. So we encourage you, when you're going to the beach or going on vacation, set up a college visit along the way. And that's a great way to just kind of stop along the way and just take a look at the college. They don't typically have as many students on campus, but you can certainly get a feel for what that campus is like. Please have a realistic conversation with seniors about finances and what's available for college. It never fails. Every spring, Ms. Chisholm has a senior in her office who's distraught because that $35,000 price tag came through and parents are like, we can't go in that direction. So if you kind of lead them into it this summer, that would be great to kind of set up for what parameters do we have schools we can apply to. Register for scholarship search engines that Ms. Chisholm discussed. Register for the ACT in between what we offer for state ACT. That'll be in October, but certainly go ahead. A lot of students say, well, is it bad if I take multiple ACTs? No, the schools are always going to look for your highest score, and some schools super score. So it's never bad that you've taken multiple tests. They want to see that you try to really made a concerted effort to raise your score. Again, contact Holland Studio this summer about the summer picks. And then first semester, these are the specifics you should focus on.
Ms. Dixon made reference to taking the ACT multiple times. That is a huge advantage because it's the season right now where I'm actually making phone calls to colleges I've been working for them many years saying, can we help this family out? Can we do something to help a little bit more with the money? And they take note of that your senior has taken it multiple times. That means they've taken it seriously. They're trying to increase their score as opposed to just taking it the 2 times offered here at the high school. So what are we going to be doing first semester of next year? We're going to be taking that ACT in October. We're going to register with Clearinghouse for eligibility if we have an athlete. Register for tutoring if we need to. Watch for that newsletter. Remember, every Monday it comes out, we're in school. We're going to take care of that FAFSA, take college visit days, order invitations and keepsakes. And I'm going to talk about that for just a minute. When Johnston's comes out and does a presentation to your senior next year, it's exciting. It is. It's going to be, class of 2026 and sweatshirts and ball caps and blankets and all sorts of stuff, and they get excited and they come home and want to order all this stuff. Those items are just arriving right now for the current seniors. So if they wear that on a campus in the fall, that screams what? I'm a freshman. So I tell them as excited as they get in here when they get the presentation, take a deep breath, go home and talk to mom and dad about what is it exactly that you want to order something, but be very careful about that. And certainly we're applying for scholarships. As you can see, first semester, we're real busy. We're doing a lot of housekeeping. We're getting all that stuff done in the fall so that we can make decisions in the spring when those award letters start coming in. But this is what we're doing first semester. Second semester, we're going to keep applying. We're going to pay for our graduation payment, which is $100. We'll tell you more information about that. You can pay that anytime next year. You can pay it anytime on My School Bucks or cash or checking guidance. The $100 covers everything for graduation. Diploma cover, cap, gown, the facility, security, everything is covered. At this time with all the suburbs, they're all 125 or 150. We're still holding tight at 100. So you want to get that done next year also early on. You want to encourage them anytime they get accepted anywhere or get any scholarship or award money, they want to bring it in because they're recognized at graduation for that. And the only way we know it is if your senior brings it in or emails it to me. A lot of times they think, Ms. Chisholm, didn't you know that I got into this school or that school? Not unless you come let us know. We send the transcripts, Ms. Buchanan does, I send the recs, we send all that in, and then we wait. So we want them to bring those documents in so we can recognize them. We'll make that final choice, which our current seniors are just starting to do now. May 1st is National Decision Day. They have until then to make their decision. So let's see what options we have. Let's talk about the money. Let's see where your interests are. We even have some seniors who are greatly changing their mind from where they were in the fall, and that's okay. Like I said, it's a journey. And lastly, second semester of next year, we're going to graduate. There's a graduation link on my webpage where you can see information about the class of 2025 and how that goes and what the dress code is and tickets and all that kind of good stuff. Doesn't apply to you yet, but you can go on there and get kind of familiar with that.
Ms. Chisholm and I have kind of covered most of what's on the senior parent to-be list. We really encourage seniors to self-advocate in a safe space during their senior year. And there's a lot of times when they come in just about a variety of things. They have to call an admissions office, or they have to have a conversation with a teacher. And we kind of walk them through the steps of the conversation. And so we want them to get comfortable with talking to adults about the information that they need and going to the correct people for that information. And so we emphasize that a lot in the fall, and we love that you reinforce that. And a lot of times we say, have you talked to mom and dad about this? Yes, and we love that. It's a village. It's a village. So, the advocating in the safe space is really something we emphasize. We talked about the financial aid conversations, Holland Studios. One thing we mentioned to the seniors in the fall when they're going to get their unofficial transcript, make sure your name is spelled correctly. Make sure if you're the third, if you're a junior, all of those things, double check that for address. And please double check. I know that we're doing spring registration. Double check to make sure that your email is correct because we're sending emails all the time and we want to make sure that you're getting those. In the fall, we have senior parent roundtable in the fall and the spring. That's at 7:05 in the library, and that's one of the highlights for us because we have a panel of parents who've had students graduate from Arlington High School, and they're the experts because they've gone on the walk that you're about to go to if this is your first senior going through this. And so the parents are invited. We have the senior parent advisory. We always give you tips and things that are going on at the time, but then we open up for you to ask that senior parent advisory what's going on at the time you were walking through this journey. And it's just a wonderful time for you all to get together and discuss, what's coming up. This is our contact information if you need it, and our phone numbers. And on summer break, we check once a week in between vacation. And so we want to open it up right now. We thank you so much for coming out this Friday morning to listen to us, but certainly if you have any questions, we'll take some questions at this time. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming. Have a wonderful Friday. I hope you get to enjoy spring break with your student next week. Thank you for coming.